Business Network. We're glad that you are listening and you're choosing to spend some of your day with us, whether you're in your office, your home, driving down the road. If you're driving, I hope you're listening to the audio and not watching the video. I'm told that most people prefer when I'm on audio to when I'm on video anyway. So I'm not sure what that means, but people keep telling me that. Anyway, my guest is John Mashni. He's an attorney, he's an author, he's an entrepreneur, he's a professor. He does a lot of things. We're talking about what EOS has meant in his entrepreneurial journey. And John, in this segment, I want to talk about some of the tools. So this is an interesting topic to me because I was actually giving a presentation this morning to a group of business people, and some of them run on EOS and some don't. And after the presentation, we started talking about EOS. And so I gave them the overview, just a brief overview. These are the foundational elements of EOS, creating a vision that's followed by all, having good data metrics and accountability for those metrics, um, ensuring that you have the right people in the right seats and that you have that set up that you've identified and you're following core processes in your business, that you're identifying issues and resolving them forever, not just leaving them to stagnate. You talked about how issues don't get smaller, problems don't go away on their own, but hitting them head on, ripping them out at the root, and creating real traction. I gave them that, but then one of the companies that has run on EOS for years said, the thing that always gets left out by implementers like Mike is the tools. There's dozens of tools that come with EOS. And when you hire an implementer, they teach you these tools and they're impactful. So I'd love to get your take on what are some of the tools that you've used that have stood out for you and had an impact in your life?
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I think, and frankly, I'm not sure if it's a tool, but just the IDS structure to me is phenomenal, like, to resolve issues.
Yeah.
Uh, to me, and this is something I learned from Coach Bob Schenefeld. He said, when you state your issue, you have to state it in one sentence. And if you think about it, it's actually a very unique skill. Like, so you might say, well, what's your issue? Like, well, let's talk about what the problem is. And you hear someone go on for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And you, well, wait, I have no idea what your issue is after listening to you for 5 minutes. I mean, I hear about all these things, but let's state it in one sentence, right? So we can identify, right, define, solve, or discuss, solve. But like, to me, learning how to actually state an issue that you can discuss and try to solve, to me, is an incredible like tool that's part of EOS. Just saying, let's state the issue, right, so we can discuss it and solve it. So that's
It
one
all
to me.
starts there, doesn't it? I mean, you're right. And I can't tell you how many L10 meetings, if you're new to EOS, an L10 meeting is how we run our meetings by a certain format that's meant to make the meeting an impactful and meaningful meeting, a 10 on a scale of 1 to 10. But part of that is IDS, identify, discuss, and solve. And you're right, John. I can't tell you how many L10 meetings I've sat in and some I've facilitated where the person stating the issue goes on for minutes, right? And you don't know what the issue is. So that discipline of saying, here's my problem, here's my issue, like one sentence. Now, and sometimes it's not the real issue. I mean, sometimes it's a symptom, right? And that's what the group will help you do is go, wait, I don't know if that's really the issue. I think there's something bigger at play, and we should probably talk about that. But that discipline is where it starts. So I think you're right. I agree with you on the IDS tool. That's a tremendous way to get to the real meat of what you're trying to solve.
And one thing too, I think is unique is using the core values as part of your people analyzer. To me, I love. Here's an example. If you have 25 core values, do you really have any? Right?
Yeah.
Like, and to me, I love the focus on not just having core values and defining them and having a story told around them so you can properly communicate them, but also having core values and then using them to define who's allowed into the organization, right? Like, you have to exhibit the core values most of the time to even be hired, right? And to
Right.
stay at a part of the organization. So not just having core values, but then being accountable or holding people accountable to living the core values. Like, that's incredible as part of the people tools that are a part of EOS. So to me, that's another piece. Maybe it's a little underrated, but I just think it's super valuable, especially when people in the workplace or people in professional settings, I think, are hypersensitive to like hypocritical, leaders, meaning like
Yep.
they see one thing and then they, hear something else, and it's like, well, wait a sec, right? So I think that's another really important area too, is just using their core values.
Yeah, your core values. I mean, what's really important about core values is they can't be aspirational. I mean, they have to be what your leadership team lives out day in and day out. I mean, if they're aspirational, what you'd like to be, they're not really your core values. Your core values, they don't. I always tell clients when we're coaching on core values that we're not going to create your core values. Your core values already exist. We're just going to identify them. And then once they're identified, I love what you said. We hire, we fire, we reward, we recognize, we promote, all based on core values. What we used to do in my company ASK in Lansing, Michigan, is the first interview. I was the visionary, and the first interview was with me, and I would not have read their resume intentionally. I didn't even know what job they were applying for. So they would come in, it was 15 minutes, and I would say, so thank you for coming in. I haven't read your resume, and I don't even know what job you're applying for. And they would always look at me like, this guy's nuts. But I would add, the only thing I want to talk to you about is our core values. I'm going to tell you who we are and what we're about. And I want to discuss whether you're like that or not. Because if you don't share our core values, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just means you're not going to like it here. We're probably not going to like you eventually. So we should weed that out right now and find out if we're aligned. And what I found was it was incredibly powerful for drawing in the people we wanted. And those people that shared those core values would, do anything to come work for us at that point. They're like, that's where I want to work, right? Without even knowing the salary or anything else, they were just fired up. So it is powerful. Thank you for sharing that. And man, we got on core values and we went over time. So we're gonna take a break. We're gonna come back. There's some commercials you're all gonna listen to. And when we come back from the commercial break, we're gonna get into more of this with John Mashni. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Getting a Grip on the Mission Business Network.